Is it possible to lose weight and eat more potatoes at the same time? The answer is unequivocally yes. Hello, I'm Tom Zanton, and I'm going to talk today about how potatoes are one of the best weight loss foods. And I'm not talking about the all potato diet. I'm talking about incorporating potatoes into an already pretty healthy diet, how you can use specific foods to synergize with the potatoes to feel really full and lose a lot of weight. So, there are two main things to know when it comes to weight loss, sustainable long-term weight loss. Most people talk about calories in and calories out. I don't like to talk about those. I don't think they make any sense. For the long term, they always work in the short term, but when you focus on calories in, calories out in the long term, you just end up feeling really hungry. That's not sustainable. In the long term, you need a diet where you don't feel really hungry. In fact, you need a diet where you feel really full after pretty much every meal. So that's one of the main things you need to focus on, eating foods that are very filling, especially relative to the amount of calories that they have. So foods that are really filling are things like potatoes, grains, beans. A lot of protein-rich foods are really filling in the moment, but unfortunately they don't actually lead to sustained reduced calorie intake. But like I said, I don't worry too much about that. But there is another thing that I think is important. So it's not just you want filling foods, but you also want foods where you don't absorb all of the calories. So one of the foods that is a good example of this is beans, where they're really filling and you don't actually absorb all the calories. The fiber blocks some of the calories from being absorbed. There are starch blocking compounds in beans themselves which block more of the starch from being absorbed. And that makes beans really great to synergize with potatoes. Potatoes are very, very filling, but you do tend to absorb all the starch pretty well until you add the beans or berries, which block some of that starch from being absorbed. And then a lot of that starch goes, first of all, it's a really filling meal. Beans and potatoes is very filling. And then a lot of that starch isn't absorbed right away, isn't absorbed. So then you're getting fewer calories, you're getting less starch absorbed as blood sugar, and you're feeding your gut. So if you eat beans and potatoes and berries and some other vegetables with it, you'll block a lot of the starch calories. But importantly, foods like potatoes, other root vegetables, the other nutrients in them are better absorbed than, say, the nutrients in grains. So that's why I prefer like potatoes and other root vegetables to be paired with beans and other vegetables, because then you're blocking a lot of the starch calories, you're blocking some of the blood sugar spike, you're feeding your gut better, but you are absorbing a lot more of the micronutrients that you need from the root vegetables. So, like I said, the way to do this, combine potatoes, other starchy root vegetables with beans, berries, other vegetables, and you'll kind of have the best of both worlds. You'll have really filling meals, but you won't absorb all the calories, and that's the key to long-term weight loss. And for me personally, it's been the key to getting down to my lowest weight and my thinnest waist ever, being on this diet. And it won't make you immune from ever getting sick ever. I have a little bit of a cold. Kids in school, that happens sometimes. But if you want to lose weight, you want to get healthier, then I think the way to do it long term is to focus on eating foods that are filling, where you don't absorb all the calories. Great combination for that is potatoes with beans and other vegetables. And I really think that this would help a lot of people out to focus more on potatoes instead of the grains that they eat. And And as for things like meat and other animal foods, they can be filling sometimes, but they don't tend to lead to reduced calorie intake later, and you tend to absorb all the calories and they don't feed your gut. So that's why I don't prefer those foods as much. So hopefully you found this helpful and you can learn something from it. And if you did, or if you have a question about it, please leave a comment. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. And always remember to eat your root vegetables. Thank you.